morning everybody. At the outset I would like to thank Venkatesh for giving me this opportunity, and I'm very happy I could see the Taj Mahal. So thank you so much, Venkatesh. So some of this has been covered by Naresh in his talk, so I am going to restrict myself to a very typical entity of macular hole with retinal detachment, and not about folioschisis, not associated with any peripheral retinal breaks. I have no financial interest. So this is a challenging situation to operate, and I'm going to stick mostly to the technical aspect of the disorder. And although it is a challenging, fortunately it's a rare condition, and the incidence has been reported to be less than 0.5%. However, some literature in the Chinese and the Japanese journals have reported the incidence to be as high as 21%. And the reason for this, as we have already seen in Chaitra's talk, that the incidence of high myopia is much more common in the Chinese and the Japanese population. And more often than not, a macular hole with retinal detachment is associated with either high myopia or trauma. So we will not go to the pathogenesis, which has been covered by the previous speakers already. So we will straight away go to the management, and I can not stress more that the preoperative assessment in this situation is very, very important. Not only it can help you plan your surgery better, and it can you can be prepared to tackle any kind of problem during the surgery, but also the anatomical results and the visual prognosis, it depends largely on the preoperative primary pathology. So most commonly this is associated with a large posterior staphyloma. So you must assess the patient preoperatively to see whether there is a presence of posterior staphyloma or no. A large posterior staphyloma makes it very difficult for the instruments to reach the macular area. Also it makes the visualization also very difficult. So you need to plan for that. Then a lot of chorioretinal atrophy and lack of RPE pigmentation again make it difficult to see. The visualization is difficult, and also your surgery may not be very successful despite all your efforts because of the lack of RPE pigmentation, which can help you actually adhere the retina to the underlying structures. You need to assess the vitreoretinal adhesions well, because this is most important, since during surgery you need to make sure that you have removed all the traction in the vitreoretinal adhesions. Also, this is a situation where the retina is very thin and it is very difficult to manipulate this retina. It can tear off very easily. As I again mentioned, previously mentioned, the longer axial length you need to take into account. And ST-OCT is invaluable in helping you prepare yourself for surgery. So ST-OCT can reveal a lot of features which are not seen clinically, and then it can help you in the management wise. So a lot of surgical procedures have been attempted to tackle macular hole with retinal detachment, but vitrectomy with ILM peeling and a gas tamponade is the most commonly chosen primary procedure for macular hole with retinal detachment. And as our understanding of the vitreoretinal traction process and the surgical advances, the attachment rates have improved from about 50% to over 90%. However, despite the improved reattachment rates, the visual prognosis remains very disappointing in such eyes. And the most frustrating is the failure of the macular hole to close and recurrent retinal detachment. So let us look at the challenges which occur in tackling this situation. So the first challenge itself is the PVD induction, and it is very essential to remove the entire vitreous and to remove all the traction for a successful surgery. And it has been shown that in eyes in which the vitreous or the macular membranes were not removed completely, the failure rates were higher. So, and as has been mentioned, it is definitely seen that despite confirmed PVD either clinically or even on SD-OCT, during surgery you will often find that there is a thin cortical layer of the vitreous which is still adherent to the retina. So one must look for this vitreous, and it helps if you can visualize it better. So you can use triamcinolone, which will help delineate this vitreous better, and which you can then peel off. There are sometimes very thick premacular membranes which need to be removed, but more often than not there are very fine membranes near the macula. And any presence of a pigment near the macula will indicate presence of fine membranes. So you can either use a diamond dusted scraper or a spatula to scrape these membranes. But you have to make sure that you need to look for these membranes, and you need to make sure that these membranes are removed completely. So second challenge is the ILM peeling. So this ILM peeling, it has been shown by many authors that ILM peeling improves the surgical success. And however, this is a different situation altogether when the retina is detached. So the retina is very, removal of ERM is important, and ILM has been shown to contain myofibroblasts, so which can contract and cause traction. And but ILM peeling, as I said, is very difficult because the retina is thin and mobile, and there is no counter traction from the retina to help you peel the ILM better. So, and also the visualization is very poor. But even then, one must attempt ILM peeling in all cases of macular hole with detachment, because it will really improve your surgical results. So third challenge is the staining with vital dye. We are all routinely doing staining of the ILM before peeling the ILM. However, in this, there is better surgical outcome when you stain the ILM, because you can visualize it better and you can confirm that it has been removed completely. However, in a detached retina, there is a chance that this dye can migrate to the subretinal space through the macular hole, and there are then possibilities of a retinal toxicity or a retinal pigment epithelial toxicity. So you have to weigh the risk of retinal toxicity. However, there are options to reduce the toxicity. You can use the Trypan blue or brilliant blue, which are less toxic as compared to the ICG. And you can also do several measures to reduce migration of the dye in the subretinal space. One option is to do a fluid air exchange prior to putting the dye, so that you don't have any fluid inside, and you just put a small 1 or 2 drops of the dye, which can stain the required ILM without migrating into the subretinal space. These other options are to put a drop of viscoelastic in the macular hole, or put a small bubble of PFCl over the macular hole. So this will close the macular hole, and then it will prevent your dye from migrating in the subretinal space. The next challenge is the fluid air exchange itself, and there are concerns that the fluid air exchange, when done through the macular hole, can cause damage to the photoreceptors. And so the people advocate either you use PFCl instead of doing fluid air exchange, put PFCl to flatten the retina, and then do a PFCl air exchange. Second option is to do a fluid gas exchange through a peripheral retinotomy, but then that means that you make another break in the retina, which can be avoidable. However, it is important to drain completely dry for your macular hole to get attached, and sometimes you may have to do several attempts to make sure that all the fluid is removed. So you can do the fluid air exchange, wait for some time, and then again go inside and remove a little bit of fluid which trickles down to the base of the macular hole. Make sure that you use a silicone tipped cannula, so that you are not injuring the photoreceptors and the RPE at the base of the macular hole. The next most challenging problem is to do laser to the macular hole. First of all, it is very controversial whether to do laser to the macular hole or not. Now this situation is different than your typical idiopathic macular hole, where the retina is attached and you are not worried about attaching the retina. But in a situation where there is a macular hole as a cause of retinal detachment, you need to think whether this hole needs to be closed by laser or not. So there are better reattachment rates if you do laser to the macular hole. But the downside is that the laser causes direct damage to the photoreceptors at the macula, and that leads to an enlarged atrophy, chorioretinal atrophy around the macular hole, which is going to compromise your visual results post-operatively. So the options are that one should avoid laser in the first attempt. If you are doing as a primary surgery, avoid laser. And if at all the patient needs a second surgery, probably you can do laser in the second surgery. Or another option is to try minimal laser. Don't do laser all around the macular hole. Maybe just do about 2 or 3 burns as a sort of anchoring of the macular hole along the circumference of the macular hole. Use very minimal power that is required. But what is more important is that sometimes there are large areas of RP atrophy, and there is a total lack of RP pigmentation around the macular hole. And in this situation, it becomes difficult for you to do laser, because even if you do laser, there is no pigment to take up the laser, and so the adhesion, chorioretinal adhesion cannot occur. So this is a very challenging situation, because in this you cannot be certain that your macular hole can get closed. So in this situation, I would advocate that you do laser around the area of the chorioretinal atrophy. So that would include probably encompassing a lot of area in the laser, but that would at least barricade the macular area, and it will not cause the RD to progress to the peripheral area. So that is one option that you have, especially in recurrent cases. That is very useful. So the next challenge we come to is the agent which we use for tamponade, whether there is always a tussle whether to use gas or silicone oil. However, more commonly, almost 80 to 90% of the cases in primary surgery, gas is preferable because gas has been seen to be very useful, and it can lead to a reattached retina. Silicone oil is therefore reserved for recurrent cases or where there is a very deep staphyloma. Deep staphyloma indicates more traction, and probably you would like to use silicone oil in such cases. Or if there is a severe chororetinal atrophy and you are unsure whether your laser will take effect or no, then in that case again silicone oil would be preferable. Chororetinal atrophy, no RP pigmentation is same. Or if you have not been able to remove the ILM completely, if you are unsure whether the ILM peeling has been complete or no, then again it would be preferable to use silicone oil than gas. And there is again option of using high density silicone oil. This is again useful in very recurrent cases or cases where there is these kind of large chororetinal atrophy or large posterior staphyloma. But you need to remove it again in a few weeks' time. So Naresh has already mentioned about this macular buckle, and we have come full circle. So macular buckle was the first treatment which was done for macular hole way back before vitrectomy became so popular, and now we are coming back again to a macular buckle. So now there are several authors which are recommending a macular buckle because it removes both the anteroposterior traction as well as the tangential traction, and it pushes the posterior sclera inside so that attaches the macula and removes the traction. It reduces the axial length and reduces the myopia as well. So the most commonly used is the Andoplom, and you saw in Naresh's slide that it is a T-shaped solid silicone band which has got two arms, and there are titanium wires inside the silicone arm which are flexible, so which you can shape according to the size of the eyeball which is required, and there are ridges for easy suturing onto the sclera. However, the technique is very difficult, and if you are interested, you can go to this reference, and it describes the technique which is required to use this plomb. There have been almost 88 to 100% success rate has been reported by various authors in primary as well as failed cases, but now more and more authors are recommending it as a combined procedure with vitrectomy, so as not to take any chance with just primary plomb alone. So, but I would suggest you to use your discretion and then use this procedure. I do not have any personal experience with macular buckle. Now, another very heroic procedure which has been advocated for macular hole with retinal detachment is that of scleral shortening, and this is done either with or without scleral excision. Basically, mattress sutures are taken in the upper temporal and sometimes even in the lower temporal quadrant, just under the lateral rectus muscle anterior to the vortex veins. And this causes disappearance of the posterior staphyloma, so thereby reducing the traction. And it is again authors who have done it in combination with vitrectomy have reported good reattachment rate, but there are chances of very high astigmatism being induced, very abnormal and high astigmatism, and there are of course chances of causing redetachment due to the peripheral breaks that you may cause. So again I would advise caution before one can attempt such a surgery. So the visual recovery, despite all your attempts and all your heroic procedures, the improvement in visual recovery is not very good, and it is reported only, successful visual recovery is reported only in about 60 to 75% of cases. And of course the recovery is limited even despite an attached retina and closed hole. And causes have been reported as photoreceptor damage or retinal pigment epithelial damage or nerve fiber layer damage. And of course this pre-existing scarring and atrophy around the macula also will limit your visual recovery. And the most frustrating is the non-closure and redetachment. So to conclude, treatment remains controversial. Good outcomes have been noted with vitrectomy, ILM peeling and gas tamponade along with dye staining. So gas tamponade is sufficient for primary cases. For recurrent cases, for failed cases, you can either use silicone oil or you can attempt a scleral buckling. However, visual outcomes still remain unsatisfactory. Thank you for your attention.